Hello everybody out there in the music community. This is Mike, your Soldier 777. It's been a while since the last video, around 11 days or so. Um, there are a few videos ago, I mentioned there are a couple bands that I couldn't quite get into, and they referenced the band Bride and Tourniquet. Well, there's another couple bands that ever since I heard of them, one was in the late 90s, the other ones are early 90s. Over the past few weeks, I've gotten into these bands, and I found them to be quite good. The two bands I'm talking about is Narnia and Die Happy. I placed an order with Gerder Records, a couple of the Petra reissues, and I included a couple of Narnia albums and a Die Happy album, Volume 2, and two of the latest Narnia albums, self-titled one and the latest one with the lighthouse and the album cover, which the name escapes me right now, and a live album, live in Brazil. And I got those in order. And I went through and listened to those albums, of course, first on YouTube, and I found they're quite good. At first, I wasn't keen on the lead singer's voice, Christian Lilligren. But actually, after hearing the music and having second thoughts, I found the voice to be quite good and it fits the music. So I went ahead and ordered, like I said, the more recent Narnia albums through Warner Music. And actually, before I came down there to do this video, I just ordered from Discogs the very first Narnia album, The Awakening, for about $10 Canadian, which is about $8 US on Discogs, a near mint condition version of the album. So I'm looking forward to getting that as well. And of course, then there's Die Happy. I ordered Die Happy as well, Volume 2. So I got my eyes. Now, Rox Records does have the other Die Happy albums, so I'll watch for these for the price go down in the coming sales for the other Die Happy album. I also want to make reference to that. I'm not usually a fan of these versions of CDs, but there's a member back in the late 90s, KMG, which I believe is an offshoot of Intense Records, just put on these 2 of or 3 of albums. Here we have Deliverance, Intense Live Series Presents, Tourniquet Intense Live Series Presents, and Die Happy. And as I said before, I wasn't a fan of Tourniquet, but I do have this little Intense Live Series Presents. Now, this CD does have a complete version of Deliverance and Tourniquet, but it only has the first few songs of the Die Happy. Now, I had the original of this one, and the CD got damaged. I do still have the insert, which is the back of the Deliverance, and the actual insert, the front insert there. So I do have that. So I do have the complete version of these two, because I bought this after my Deliverance got damaged, so these came with us as an extra bonus. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to locate this one somewhere, wherever it's available, and probably order that one as well. That way when I get my Die Happy Volume 2 from Gerder, I'll also have this as well. I'll probably hunt in a copy of this somewhere online and probably order this as well. And Die Happy is more of a, to me, the first one they put out in 93, which at that time, those members were the members of Vengeance without Roger Martinez. So Robin Calabazari joined the band. And also, if you're familiar with the album Red Sea and the Rock Paraphrase Volume 2, The Hymns, he sang a couple of those songs as well. And if you're familiar with Joshua, Surrender, because Surrender was came out in 85, but Joshua Parag re-recorded the album in 92 under Ocean Records, and he added a track called Show Me the Way, thing is called. Robin Calabazari actually sing the lead vocals on that song. So if you're familiar with those albums, you're familiar with Robin Carl singing. I do like his raspy, bluesy voice. I do enjoy it quite a bit. But the first Die Happy album was more of a what I call probably got that 70s vibe, but yet it got parts of it 70s style metal, but also got parts of it that are sort of thrashy. Not uncommon what you find in Vengeance albums. Kind of got that thrashy vibe going through them, which I quite like. So I'm gonna and the last one, Volume 2, is more blues-based hard rock. So it's not as heavy as the first one. So that's quite good as well. That's when I got on ordered Volume 2 one. So I'm gonna try to track down this one and see if I can find this one online and order this one. That way, if I get all of Die Happy albums, I'll have all 3 albums, because we put 2 studio ones and this one, this compilation of live in studio. So there you have it. Yeah. So like I said, and I find too where you'll see me mention here's the back of the album too, by the way. If you want to see the song titles there, as you see, the Die Happy one only got the first few songs. We've got the complete albums of Vengeance and Deliverance and Tourniquet. So there you have it. And as I mentioned before in my previous videos, I mentioned what I call waves. Where back in '85, when I first discovered Christian rock and hard rock and metal, I got into bands like Petra, Jerusalem, Daniel Band, Stryper, and Res. In '86. I got into bands like 86, 87 period. I think more or less like early '87. I got into bands like Bloodgood, Barren Cross, Messiah Prophet, Saint, and Leviticus. Those were the 5 bands I got into, and I think I'm going through. And of course, there were also subsequent waves. With each consecutive year, I discovered bands like in late '87, '88 was Whitecross, and in '89 it was like Sacred Warrior, and not Sacred Warrior, no, '88, '89, '90 was like Sacred Warrior and Shout, and actually Sacred Warrior was more like '89. So like I said, I mean, but now I think I'm going through sort of another wave where discovering bands that I haven't heard of before, or rediscovering bands I heard of back in the day that never got into, or that I totally ignored them where I didn't think they were any good, or never caught my attention, or never had the time, or never had a resource to dive deep in these bands to get into early 90s, late 80s. As you know, the internet wasn't around back then. I mean, this past year, because of YouTube, Girder Music, Boone's Overstock, and Rocks, I've been discovering bands for the first time, or maybe for the second, third time. I mean, just this past year, I bought the Triton albums from I think it was Boone's Overstock. As I said previously in this video, I'm getting into Narnia and Die Happy. What else? Like I'm almost like this year, I'm branching out, expanding my horizons by getting into other bands that were around in the 90s or 80s, and I never really got into them, or bands I never heard of before. Like I don't think I've heard of Triton back in the late 80s or early 90s. I've heard it kicked around the past decade or two on the internet, but I never really dove deep into them and became a fan. So, like I said, I think I'm going through another wave. I also want to mention too is that I want to mention too. I recently heard Andy, Kent, and Rex and Mike has a video channel called Area 312, which is based on the Res song from a DMZ album, Area 312. And as you may know, Kent is a huge Res fan, as I am too. And they had one of the recent videos was Les Carson, Bloodgood, which was one of my all-time favorite bands. Bloodgood, fantastic band. I really enjoyed that video. I thought it was really good. If you guys want to check out Area 312, by all means do so. Just type in that name in the box on top of the YouTube screen in the field, and that channel populate. They've had some great guests over the past several months. I mean, they've had the Gods and the Brave and they've had, of course, Les Carson, Bloodgood, as I just mentioned. They've had Tim Gaines from Stryper. Fantastic guests over the past. Oh, Fear Not. They had a Gods from Fear Not, which is really good too. Even if I'm not into a band totally, like they just had the guy on from Novella, Jonathan Pelago, I think his name is. I forget his last name, the lead singer. And he also had the guys from Brave. I'm not really into these bands, but I watch their videos anyway because I love it when I get into the history of the history, to do a deep dive into the band's history, the struggles they went through, their back catalog. So I think is really great to do that. And I watch all their episodes. They're really great channel. In referencing the Les Carlson part, he did sing a lot of vocals on the Tourniquet live in studio. He also did the cover of Bloodgood Messiah as well. So there you have it. Great tune. I also want to mention that Kevin Whistler, the drummer of Bloodgood, is battling COVID-19 and cancer at the same time. So I think we also pray for him when you get a chance to keep in your prayers. And we all know and love Kevin Whistler's drumming. As you may know, the third drummer. When Bloodgood started, he had JT Taylor. Then he had Mark Welling. And now they currently have Kevin Whistler. And as you may know, just a reference point, he played drums on Out of Darkness, was a fantastic album. I never heard his album back in the day when it came out in '89. I only heard his album I've heard his album since around I would say around 2000. On the key, I had the Bloodgood, first four Bloodgoods on these KMG versions. But I bought this back in 2015 when I really got into this album. When this came out in 2015, this Digipack reissue. As you may know too, Kevin played drums on the Live American Shaking the World, which is fantastic drumming on this. He's a great drummer, awesome drummer. As you may know too, he also played drums on Dangerously Close album and the live album To Germany with Love. So Kevin Whistler's a fantastic drummer. So let's all pray that he'll get better and get back to what he does best, drumming for Bloodgood and whatever else he does in life. Also, too, I think we should pray for the folks in Afghanistan. As you may know, on another music reference, Leonard Gordola used to be in Gurfia, used to be in Magdalene, and you did some work for Ken Tamplin, does mission work over in Afghanistan in music. And as we know, since Biden foolishly gave the advisory for troops to come home, the Taliban took over in Afghanistan, and as you know, there's one big mess over there, and they're persecuting Christians and other non-Muslims, which is ridiculous. So I think we should keep Leonard Gordola in our prayers as well. On a more serious note, I mentioned this before. Back early this year, I lost my job, so I'm now currently unemployed. Fortunately, when I lost my job this past year, I got some severance, and my union rep has helped me go through a grievance to get my job back, where he thinks it's discrimination, where they dismiss me. So I would like for you guys to keep me in your prayers. I've been working for a few months, but fortunately my wife is working, and I'm on unemployment, and I've been looking for work in a few different resources. So pray. I hope you guys keep me in your prayers. Help me get a job. Suitable employment that pays a decent rate. Because this is the first time I've been unemployed in 20 years, and I ain't really mentioning better. I'm not hurting financially as of right yet. Please God, but I want to find work in my field, hopefully, or something similar to what I've done before. So hopefully you guys keep me in your prayers as well. Anyway, folks, this is sort of a different kind of video with a few things for your mention, and what I'll do in the long run or in the short term, with the next few videos, I'll get back to showing some things I've shown before, like what's spinning, collection videos. I may reference a certain year in music history, primary course with Christian music course, and of course I do make reference to non-Christian music on occasion, because I believe there's both can be drawn from both general genres, mainstream music or secular and Christian. And anyway, folks, I'll have to say for now, and You guys all have a great day, and God bless. Bye now.